If you're watching this right now, you're about to discover something that will fundamentally change how you interact with reality itself, not through action or effort or force, but through the precise mechanism of observation. There's a specific way of observing reality that causes the quantum field to reorganize, restructure, and literally rewrite what you experience as your life circumstances. This isn't positive thinking or visualization technique. This is quantum mechanics operating at consciousness level. When you observe the right way, you're not perceiving pre-existing reality. You're actively creating reality through the observation itself. The double-slit experiment proved beyond doubt that observation affects observed. Particles behave as waves when unobserved but collapse into specific particles when observed. But here's what most people miss. It's not just whether you observe that matters. It's how you observe that determines what reality collapses into. Wrong observation creates one reality. Right observation creates completely different reality. Same quantum field, same possibilities available, but observation method determines which possibility becomes your experienced reality. The reason you're encountering this transmission at this exact moment isn't random content recommendation. Consciousness finds information that matches its frequency through quantum resonance. You're here because your consciousness has reached frequency where understanding right observation becomes possible, where quantum mechanics can be applied consciously rather than remaining unconscious process happening automatically. If you weren't ready to learn how observation creates reality, these words would remain abstract concepts without practical impact. But you're ready, which means what you learn here will transform how you create reality through every moment of observation. Have you noticed that when you observe your problems directly, they seem to intensify and multiply? When you focus on lack, more lack appears. When you watch for evidence of limitation, limitation is confirmed repeatedly. That's not confirmation bias or selective attention. That's quantum observation creating reality that matches observation method. You've been observing the wrong way, unconsciously using observation to reinforce what already exists, rather than using observation to create what you actually want. Dr. Dean Radin's research at Institute of Noetic Sciences has conducted thousands of experiments proving that consciousness directly affects quantum systems through intention and observation. His research demonstrates that how observer observes, the intention behind observation, the expectation held during observation, the consciousness state of observer, measurably affects quantum outcomes. Not belief or faith or hope affecting psychology, actual consciousness affecting physical quantum systems in measurable, reproducible ways. Think about how you've been observing your life circumstances. Do you observe to confirm what's already true, to gather evidence of current reality, to see things as they are? If so, you've been using observation to lock reality into current configuration rather than using observation to create new configuration. Observation that confirms what already exists reinforces existing reality. Observation that expects something different collapses new possibility into experience. Same act of observing, completely different results based on observation method. The quantum field contains infinite possibilities existing simultaneously in superposition. All potential realities available, none more real than another, until observation collapses specific possibility into experienced reality. Your life circumstances aren't fixed, unchangeable reality. They're currently collapsed possibility out of infinite possibilities that could collapse instead. And here's what changes everything. You can change which possibility collapses through changing how you observe. Right observation method literally rewrites reality at quantum level. This isn't metaphor or spiritual belief. This is proven physics that mainstream science confirms but refuses to apply to consciousness and daily life because implications are too revolutionary. If observation creates reality, then you're not victim of circumstances, you're creator of circumstances through observation method. If quantum field reorganizes based on how you observe, then changing observation method changes experienced reality more effectively than trying to change circumstances through action alone. The reason these words are landing with such weight, such sense of yes, this explains everything, such recognition that something profound is being revealed, that's not intellectual appreciation of clever theory. That's your consciousness recognizing mechanism it's been using unconsciously your entire life, finally seeing clearly what it's been doing in the dark. You've been creating reality through observation all along. Now you're becoming conscious of the mechanism so you can use it intentionally rather than accidentally. You've been experiencing phenomena you probably couldn't explain. Moments when focusing on desired outcome seemed to make it appear quickly. Times when worrying about problem made it worse. Situations where shifting your perspective seemed to shift circumstances even though nothing physical changed. These weren't coincidences or psychology tricks. These were quantum field responding to observation method, reorganizing reality based on how you were observing it. Once you understand mechanism consciously, what seemed random becomes controllable, what seemed magical becomes mechanical. First phenomenon, reality shifting when you stop looking directly at it. Problem that seemed impossible when you focused on it directly, suddenly resolves when you shift attention elsewhere. Desired outcome that wouldn't manifest when you watched for it, appears the moment you stop monitoring. Solution that was invisible during intense focus becomes obvious when you relax observation. Not that problem solved itself while you weren't looking, but that your observation method while looking was preventing solution from collapsing into reality, and changing observation method allowed solution to manifest. This is quantum observation mechanics operating precisely as physics predicts. Direct observation with expectation of finding problem reinforces problem in quantum field. Releasing direct observation while holding different expectation allows field to reorganize into solution. The field doesn't change when you're not looking. The field reorganizes because you changed observation method from problem confirming to solution allowing. Second phenomenon, circumstances improving dramatically when you observe them as already improved rather than as needing improvement. When you look at challenging situation thinking, this needs to change, situation persists or worsens. When you observe same situation thinking, this is already shifting toward resolution. Situation begins transforming through synchronistic events and unexpected pathways. Same external circumstances, same you, but different observation method creates completely different trajectory. This proves observation isn't passive perception of pre-existing reality. Observation is active creation, selecting which possibility collapses from quantum field. Observing as needs improvement collapses field into reality, matching that expectation. Observing as already improving collapses field into reality, matching that expectation. The field contains both possibilities. Observation method determines which becomes experienced reality. Third phenomenon, other people responding differently to you when you observe them differently, even without behavioral change from you. When you observe someone as difficult or threatening, they behave in ways confirming that observation. When you observe same person as cooperative or supportive, they behave differently. Not because you treated them differently externally, but because your observation method affected quantum field organizing the interaction, creating different outcome from same starting conditions. Dr. Robert Rosenthal's research on expectancy effects proves this scientifically. When teachers observe students as high potential, students perform dramatically better than when observed as low potential, even when students are randomly assigned to categories. Not self-fulfilling prophecy through different treatment. Measurable quantum effect where observation expectation affects observed outcome through field mechanics beyond physical interaction. Fourth phenomenon, physical reality responding to observation with impossible timing. You observe possibility of specific outcome, and within hours or days, that exact outcome manifests through channels that couldn't have been set in motion by your observation, since observation happened too recently for normal causation to operate. Information appears, people contact you, opportunities materialize, circumstances shift. All synchronized with your observation in time frame that defies linear causation. This is quantum field responding to observation faster than physical causation can operate, because field exists beyond space-time constraints. Your observation doesn't cause physical chain of events leading to outcome. Your observation reorganizes field, which manifests outcome through synchronistic coordination of infinite variables that appear as impossible coincidence from linear causation perspective, but are natural field mechanics from quantum perspective. Fifth phenomenon, reality details changing when you observe with different expectation. You observe situation expecting specific detail to be present, and that detail appears even though you're certain it wasn't there before. Colors seem different, words seem changed, physical objects seem rearranged. Not major alterations, but subtle shifts that make you question whether you're remembering correctly or whether reality actually shifted. This is observation literally rewriting reality at quantum level. The field reorganizes details to match observation expectation because details exist in superposition until observed, then collapse into configuration matching observation method. You're not misremembering previous reality. You're observing reality reorganizing to match current observation expectation, creating discontinuity between previous collapsed state and current collapsed state. Sixth phenomenon, problems dissolving when you observe them as already solved, rather than as obstacles to overcome. When you look at challenge thinking, I need to solve this, challenge persists and creates resistance. When you observe same challenge thinking, solution already exists, I'm just discovering it. Solution pathway becomes obvious through insights and synchronicities that weren't accessible from problem-focused observation. Not psychological reframing, quantum field reorganization based on observation method. Seventh phenomenon, manifestation speed increasing as you improve observation method. Early in conscious manifestation practice, outcomes take weeks or months to appear. As you refine how you observe, expectations you hold, consciousness state during observation, precision of observation focus, same intentions manifest in days or hours. Not because you're getting better at manifestation, but because you're using observation more effectively as quantum tool that directly affects field organization rather than as passive perception awaiting field to maybe respond. Every time manifestation didn't work despite intense effort, every time circumstances seemed to resist your attempts to change them, every time reality confirmed your fears rather than your hopes. None of it was evidence that you can't affect reality or that quantum mechanics doesn't apply to life circumstances. All of it was you observing the wrong way, using observation to reinforce current reality rather than to create new reality, unconsciously applying observation method that locks in existing configuration rather than allows field reorganization. The frustration you felt when visualization didn't work, affirmations didn't create change, positive thinking didn't manifest results. That wasn't failure of manifestation principles. That was misunderstanding of quantum observation mechanics. Those techniques often use observation incorrectly, observing desired outcome as separate from current reality, as future possibility rather than present availability, as something you don't have that you're trying to get. That observation method reinforces separation between current and desired, locking field into current configuration rather than allowing collapse into desired configuration. Every time you checked to see if manifestation was working yet, every time you looked for evidence of change, every time you monitored circumstances to confirm progress, you were observing the wrong way. Checking observation expects to find absence. It's not here yet. Let me see if it's here now. That expectation collapses field into absence. Monitoring observation expects current state. Things are this way, let me see if they've changed. That expectation reinforces current state. Both observation methods prevent field reorganization into desired state because observation expects current or absent rather than present and available. Think about specific manifestation attempt that failed despite sustained effort. Can you recognize now that while you were visualizing desired outcome, you were also observing current reality constantly to check progress? Can you see that checking observation was more frequent and more emotionally intense than visualization observation, meaning you were predominantly using observation to confirm lack rather than to create presence? The field responded to dominant observation method, confirming lack because that's what observation expected to find. The confusion about why manifestation works sometimes but not others wasn't mystery. It was inconsistent observation method. When manifestation worked easily, you were accidentally observing the right way, expecting to find what you wanted, observing possibility as already present, checking for evidence of presence rather than absence. When manifestation failed despite intense effort, you were observing the wrong way despite right technique, expecting to find lack, observing possibility as future rather than present, checking for evidence of change rather than assuming change already occurred. Your entire journey has been unconscious experimentation with observation methods, learning through trial and error what observation creates what reality. Every success taught you something about right observation, even if you didn't consciously understand mechanism. Every failure showed you what observation method prevents field reorganization, even if you attributed failure to other factors. All of it was preparation for conscious understanding of quantum observation mechanics, so random successes become reliable skill. The suffering you experienced when reality seemed unchangeable despite your desires wasn't evidence that you're powerless. It was evidence that you were observing powerfully but incorrectly, using observation to create reality matching lack, limitation, rather than using observation to create reality matching desire, possibility. Your observation was working perfectly, creating reality matching observation method. Problem wasn't broken observation. Problem was unconscious observation method creating undesired reality efficiently. Every time circumstances seemed to confirm your worst expectations, every time your fears manifested precisely, every time negative outcomes appeared exactly as you worried they would, that was your observation working perfectly, collapsing field into reality, matching observation expectation. You weren't cursed or unlucky. You were unconsciously expert at observation-based reality creation, just using expertise to create confirmation of fears rather than manifestation of desires. The key insight that recontextualizes everything. You've been powerful quantum observer your entire life, expertly collapsing field into reality, matching your observation method. What needs to change isn't developing new power or learning to affect reality. You're already affecting reality constantly through observation. What needs to change is observation method, shifting from unconscious observation that confirms current reality to conscious observation that creates desired reality through precise quantum mechanics. 10 years ago, I was obsessed with figuring out why manifestation techniques produced such inconsistent results. Sometimes intentions manifested perfectly with minimal effort. Sometimes nothing happened despite months of dedicated practice. Sometimes opposite of what I intended manifested. I studied every manifestation system, tried every technique, practiced with religious discipline, but couldn't create consistency. Then I encountered quantum mechanics research showing observation affects observed, and everything clicked into place. I realized every manifestation technique involves observation. Visualizing desired outcome is observing it mentally, affirming intention is observing it verbally, focusing on goal is observing it attentionally. But different techniques taught different observation methods, and most people mixed multiple methods unconsciously. creating contradictory observations that cancelled each other out or reinforced undesired reality rather than desired reality. I decided to test observation methods systematically. I chose small intentions that would manifest obviously if observation worked, but wouldn't matter much if it failed. Finding parking spot in crowded area, receiving specific amount of money, encountering specific person, discovering specific information. For each intention, I used pure observation method without adding action or force or typical manifestation techniques. Just observation with precise method to see what observation alone could create. The first method I tested was what I call confirmation observation. Observing reality to confirm desired outcome already exists. I would intend to find parking spot, then observe parking area, expecting to find available spot, looking for evidence of availability rather than evidence of full lot. Not visualizing spot appearing or affirming spot exists, just observing with expectation that spot is available now, waiting to be discovered through observation. Results were immediate and undeniable. Using confirmation observation for parking spots, I found available spots in impossibly crowded areas with 90% plus success rate. Not occasionally or randomly, consistently, reliably, obviously beyond chance. Same crowded parking lots where I'd previously circled for 20 minutes suddenly had spots available exactly where I observed with confirmation expectation. I tested this hundreds of times over months. Confirmation observation worked consistently. Looking for proof of lack found lack. Looking for evidence of availability found availability. Same physical parking lot. Observation method determined outcome. I expanded testing to more significant intentions. I needed specific amount of money, $2,847 for unexpected expense. Instead of trying to figure out how to get money or worrying about not having it, I used confirmation observation. Observed my financial reality expecting to find that exact amount available through some channel I'd discover through continued observation. Not visualizing money appearing or affirming money exists. Just observing financial field expecting to find availability waiting to be discovered. Within 3 days, I received unexpected freelance project offer, paying exactly $2,150, $3 more than I'd observed for. The client contacted me completely out of nowhere, saying they'd been given my name by someone I'd worked with 2 years prior and just happened to contact me at exactly the moment I needed precisely that amount. Impossible timing, exact amount, synchronistic channel. All organized by field responding to observation method. I tested confirmation observation with dozens of specific intentions over following year. Finding specific information, it appeared through impossible synchronicities within days. Encountering specific person, they showed up unexpectedly in unrelated contexts within week. Manifesting opportunities, resolving problems, creating circumstances. Success rate was over 80% when I used pure confirmation observation without mixing in checking observation or doubt-based observation that would contradict confirmation method. But I also discovered the precise opposite. Wrong observation method created opposite results with equal reliability. When I tested checking observation, observing reality to check if desired outcome had appeared yet, outcomes either didn't manifest or manifested distorted. Checking observation expects absence until change occurs, and that expectation collapses field into continued absence. Every time I checked, is it here yet? I was observing, expecting to find not here yet, which created reality matching that expectation. Most dramatically, I discovered that combining confirmation observation with checking observation created worst results. Confirming desired outcome exists while also checking whether it's appeared, yet sends contradictory signals to field. Like accelerator and brake simultaneously, movement can't occur efficiently with contradictory input. Most people do this unconsciously. Affirm desired outcome exists, confirmation observation, Then immediately check whether it's manifested yet. Checking observation, creating quantum interference that blocks manifestation. The breakthrough came when I realized observation method isn't supplementary technique added to other manifestation practices. Observation is the mechanism through which consciousness affects quantum field. Everything else, visualization, affirmation, action, either supports effective observation or contradicts it. When observation is correct, minimal technique is needed. When observation is wrong, maximum technique can't overcome observation method, preventing field reorganization. About 3 years into working exclusively with observation method, I faced ultimate test. My father needed medical procedure costing $40,000 not covered by insurance. Attempting to raise money through normal channels was impossible on timeline needed. But I understood observation mechanics by then. I didn't need to know how money would appear. I just needed to observe correctly and allow field to organize outcome through whatever channel field selected. I used pure confirmation observation for 10 days. Observed financial reality, expecting to find $40,000 available through channel I discover through continued observation. Didn't visualize, didn't affirm, didn't take desperate action, just maintained observation, expecting to find availability. On day 11, attorney contacted me completely unexpectedly saying settlement from legal matter I'd forgotten about had been resolved and I was receiving exactly $43,000. Timing impossible through normal causation. Case hadn't been active, settlement wasn't expected, amount wasn't known. Field organized outcome matching observation expectation using channel I couldn't have predicted or accessed through effort. That experience proved definitively, right observation method doesn't just improve manifestation chances, it allows field to rewrite reality through impossible synchronicities that bypass normal causation entirely. You're not working within reality's constraints, trying to manipulate circumstances. You're working with field's reorganization capacity that can create outcomes through channels beyond what logical planning could access. Now I'm going to reveal exactly what right observation method actually is, how it differs from wrong observation that most people use unconsciously, and why this single distinction transforms you from powerless perceiver of fixed reality into conscious creator of experienced reality through quantum mechanics. This will shatter every incomplete understanding of manifestation and reveal precise mechanism that makes everything else work or fail. Here's the shocking revelation. Right observation is observing reality as if desired outcome already exists and you're discovering evidence of its existence, while wrong observation is observing reality as if desired outcome doesn't exist yet and you're checking whether it's appeared. Same act of observing, opposite expectation, completely different quantum outcome because field collapses to match observation expectation. Most people observe reality the wrong way constantly without recognizing they're using observation to reinforce what they don't want. They look at bank account expecting to find lack. That's checking observation confirming absence. They monitor circumstances expecting to see problems. That's checking observation confirming limitation. They observe body expecting to find symptoms. That's checking observation confirming illness. Every checking observation collapses field into reality, matching expectation that desired state is absent, literally creating continued absence through observation method. Right observation completely inverts the method. Observe expecting to find what you want already present, already available, already existing. You're just discovering it through observation rather than creating it through observation. This isn't pretending something exists that doesn't or denying current reality. This is recognizing quantum truth. Desired outcome already exists in field as possibility, and observation expecting to find it collapses that possibility into experienced reality, while observation expecting not to find it prevents collapse of that possibility. Doctor. Yakira Haranov's research on quantum weak measurements proves that quantum systems can be affected by future measurements, not just past measurements, suggesting quantum field responds to observation expectation about future state, not just observation of current state. His research demonstrates that how observer expects observation to turn out affects quantum system now, proving expectation is part of observation mechanism, not separate from it. Here's the distinction most people miss. Right observation isn't visualization of desired outcome or affirmation of desired state. Those are mental practices that often still include wrong observation underneath. You can visualize desired outcome perfectly, right practice, while simultaneously checking current reality, expecting to find absence, wrong observation. The checking observation determines field collapse more than visualization because checking is direct observation while visualization is imagined observation. Direct observation of physical reality has more quantum impact than imagined observation of mental construct. This is why manifestation techniques often fail despite perfect application. People visualize correctly but observe incorrectly. They spend 10 minutes visualizing desired outcome, confirmation observation of imagined reality, then spend 23 hours and 50 minutes checking current reality expecting to find lack, checking observation of physical reality. Field responds primarily to dominant observation method, checking observation preventing manifestation despite visualization attempting to create it. Right observation method has three essential components that must align simultaneously. First component, observation. Expectation. When you observe reality, you must expect to find evidence of desired outcome already present, not absent. Not hoping to find it, not wishing it were there, not trying to make it appear, expecting to discover it's already available because at quantum level it already exists, as possibility waiting to collapse through observation. Your expectation determines which possibility collapses. Expect absence, find absence. Expect presence, find presence. Second component, observation. Focus. Where you direct observation, attention determines what field organizes around. Observe lack. Field organizes to show more lack. Observe possibility. Field organizes to show more possibility. Most people observe problems intensely, strong focus on lack, and observe solutions casually, weak focus on possibility. Then wonder why problems multiply while solutions remain hidden. Field organizes around strongest observation focus, not around what you consciously want. Third component, observation frequency. How often you observe with right method versus wrong method determines whether field has clear, consistent instruction or contradictory, confusing instruction. One moment of right observation followed by hours of wrong observation creates minimal effect. Consistent right observation throughout day with minimal wrong observation creates powerful cumulative effect. Field responds to dominant observation pattern, not to occasional observation exception. When all three components align, expecting to find desired state, focusing observation on evidence of desired state, maintaining that observation method consistently, field has clear instruction and reorganizes accordingly. Reality literally rewrites to match observation method because observation is mechanism through which consciousness collapses specific reality from quantum field of infinite possibilities. But here's the shocking implication that changes everything about how you approach manifestation. You don't need to know how desired outcome will manifest. You don't need to see pathway from current to desired. You don't need to understand mechanism that will create change. You just need to observe correctly, expecting to find desired state already present, and field organizes outcome through whatever pathway field determines optimal. Your role is observation. Field's role is manifestation mechanism. This explains why trying to figure out how manifestation will occur often prevents manifestation. Because figuring out how is checking observation, expecting to find lack of pathway currently, which reinforces lack. Right observation releases need to know how and simply expects to discover evidence that outcome is already organizing, already available, already collapsing into experience through fields intelligence that vastly exceeds human conscious planning. The ultimate recognition, observation isn't passive perception of pre-existing reality. Observation is active creation selecting which reality collapses from quantum field. You're not observing what is. You're observing what becomes through observation. Reality doesn't exist definitively until observed, and how you observe determines what reality becomes definite. This isn't philosophy or belief. This is proven quantum mechanics operating at consciousness level every moment of every day, whether you're conscious of it or not. When you understand this completely, everything changes. You stop being victim of circumstances observing reality that's happening to you. You become conscious creator using observation as quantum tool to select which reality collapses into your experience from infinite possibilities available in field. Same quantum mechanics that creates particles from observation, creating your life circumstances through observation. Right observation method is the mechanism. Right now, this very moment, reality is confirming that you understand right observation method through signals so clear, so immediate, so undeniable, that you can't miss them if you're paying attention. These aren't delayed confirmations requiring faith. These are real-time demonstrations that observation creates reality when applied correctly. First signal. Immediate shift in how circumstances feel when you change observation method. When you observe current challenges with checking observation expecting to find problems, circumstances feel heavy, stuck, overwhelming. When you observe same circumstances with confirmation observation expecting to find evidence they're already shifting, circumstances feel lighter, more fluid, more workable. Nothing external changed. Observation method changed, and your experience of reality shifted immediately because field began reorganizing in response to different observation instruction. Second signal. Synchronicities appearing that directly match what you observed with confirmation method. You observe financial reality expecting to find unexpected income source, and within days, someone contacts you with opportunity or money appears through forgotten channel or bill gets reduced unexpectedly. The synchronistic appearance matches observation expectation too precisely to be coincidence. It's field responding to observation by organizing circumstances to confirm what observation expected to find. Third signal. Problems beginning to resolve when you stop observing them as problems and start observing them as situations already shifting toward resolution. Issue that seemed intractable when you observed it with problem-focused observation suddenly has obvious solution appear when you shift to solution-focused observation. Not because problem changed, but because observation method changed, allowing field to collapse solution possibility that was always present but couldn't manifest while observation expected to find only problem. Fourth signal. People responding differently to you when you observe them with different expectation. Person who seemed difficult when you observed expecting conflict becomes cooperative when you observe expecting collaboration. Relationship that felt strained when you observed expecting distance becomes closer when you observe expecting connection. Their behavior shifts to match your observation expectation because field organizes interaction based on observation method, not just on personality traits or past patterns. Fifth signal. Reality details confirming observation expectation in ways that seem impossible.
Remember, the universe doesn't respond to your effort or your wishes. It responds to your focused observation. When you master the art of observing reality as if your desires are already fulfilled, you're not just dreaming. You're creating your life at the quantum level. So shift your attention, hold the expectation of abundance and possibility, and watch how the quantum field rearranges itself to bring those desires into your experience. This is your power as a conscious creator. Keep observing the right way, and reality will unfold in your favor. Thank you for watching, and may your journey of quantum manifestation be filled with endless miracles.